Joined by the Shadow Foreign Secretary, David Lammy. Mr Lammy, thank you for joining me. Boris Johnson's calling this a very positive result, very inclusive result. Time to move on from Partygate. It was all the media's fault for overspinning it, etc. Your response?
I mean, come on, Piers. He's done worse than Margaret Thatcher did in 1990, worse than John Major did in 1995, worse than Theresa May in 2018. All of those prime ministers went on to lose office. Yes, they staggered on, wounded, badly wounded. He's deeply wounded, deeply fought. Most of his backbenchers are not with him. That's what these numbers demonstrate. How can you go on to properly govern a country in a time of a cost of living crisis, huge rising inflation, real concern across the country? How can you do that realistically? I think everyone knows the game is up. Unfortunately, the Conservatives should have taken the mantle and got rid of him tonight. They haven't done that, and so he limps on, but badly wounded at a time when the country desperately needs proper leadership.
We could be in an extraordinary position where your own leader and deputy leader end up being fined by the police for the beer Currygate night, and they've already announced if that happens, they will resign. But Boris Johnson, who's already been fined by the police, carries on.
Well, look, this isn't a question of integrity. It's a question of being trustworthy. We've been raising this in the Labour Party for months and months, precisely because the electorate, when we knock on their doors, have been saying they don't trust this guy for his rule-breaking. How are they now meant to trust him to fix the economy and solve the cost of living crisis that we've got? Of course they don't trust him. Keir has been absolutely clear that of course he would resign if he received a fine. I've got to say, as a lawyer, I've looked very closely at the evidence. I've spoken to other lawyers. He's not going to be fined. I don't actually think this should have been reinvestigated in the first place, but there we go. He's been clear about where he stands in the ground. Whatever you say about him, his integrity is beyond reproach. What we've got here is a Prime Minister, and people can't believe him. And that's the fundamental problem. Whatever you thought of Margaret Thatcher, whatever you thought of David Cameron, whatever you thought of John Major, there wasn't this essential question of trust and lying in office. That's the test that Boris Johnson has consistently not met, and that's why his backbenchers have deserted him tonight.
I mean, in a way, I've asked this question a few times in the last few minutes, but does Labour even want Boris Johnson to leave Downing Street now, given how damaged he is? It's not the fact that 148 of his own MPs have lost confidence in him, one of the best vote winners you could possibly wish for.
Well, look, you might say that, Piers, and I understand why you might say that, but in a sense, I think this is beyond the partisan issue now. It's way beyond that. It's this fundamental question of trust and integrity in office. I've got the great privilege of being Shadow Foreign Secretary. In the last few weeks, I've been in Australia, New Zealand, I've been in Washington. And look, people consistently raising the integrity of this guy. What's going on? They've seen the rule breaking. You know, they've seen his vacillations over a period of time. The breaking up rules like the Northern Ireland Pro, it's damaging. It's damaging for our image publicly out there in the world. That's why we need to move on with a new Prime Minister, and the Conservatives really should have got rid of him tonight.
David Lammy, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.